In ancient Rome, a woman's name was not her own. It was a reflection of her family and her place within it. The most important part of a Roman woman's name was her nomen. This was the name of her family, her gens. It spoke of her lineage and her ancestors. The nomen connected her to a larger network of kin and social influence. It was a powerful symbol of belonging and identity. Imagine a Roman woman named Julia. When someone said Julia, they weren't just referring to her individual self. They were invoking the entire history and reputation of the Julian clan. This family was known for its political power, its military victories, and its cultural achievements. Julia carried the weight of this legacy with her. It shaped how people perceived her and how she moved through the world. This emphasis on family lineage is evident in the way Roman women were recorded in official documents and inscriptions. Their names typically consisted of only their nomen, often in the feminine form. For example, a woman from the Julian family would be known as Julia. There was no need for a separate personal name. Her family identity was paramount. This practice highlights the collective nature of Roman society. The individual was subsumed within the family unit. A woman's primary role was to uphold the honor and continue the lineage of her genes. Her name, therefore, served as a constant reminder of this duty and her place within the social order. The Roman naming system, while emphasizing family lineage, could lead to a curious phenomenon. Many women ended up sharing the same name. This was because Roman women, unlike their male counterparts, typically did not have a prenomen. The prenomen was a personal name that came before the nomen. For men, it provided a degree of individual distinction. Without a prenomen, daughters within the same family were often simply known by the feminine form of their nomen. This meant that a family with multiple daughters might have several Julias or Cornelias. In a society that prized family above all else, this lack of individual naming might seem strange. However, it reflects the secondary position of women within the Roman household. Imagine attending a social gathering in ancient Rome. You meet several women from prominent families. There's Julia from the Claudians, Julia from the Julians, and Julia from the Cornelia. It could get quite confusing. Yet this repetition of names was an accepted part of Roman life. It underscored the idea that a woman's primary identity was rooted in her family, not her individuality. This practice of shared names wasn't seen as diminishing the women involved. Instead, it reinforced the idea that a woman's value lay in her lineage and her potential to uphold the family's reputation. Individuality, as we understand it today, was simply not a primary concern. While the lack of prenomina led to many women sharing the same nomen, Roman families did have ways of differentiating between daughters. One common method was to use numerals. If a family had 3 daughters named Cornelia, they might be known as Cornelia Prima, the first Cornelia Secunda, the second, and Cornelia Tertia, the third. These numerals provided a simple way to distinguish between siblings within the family structure. However, as families grew larger and more complex, a more nuanced system was needed. This is where cognomina came into play. A cognomen was an additional name that came after the nomen. It could be inherited from a branch of the family, or it could be earned through personal achievements or characteristics. For women, cognomina were often used to highlight a particular virtue or accomplishment. For example, a daughter known for her intelligence might be given the cognomen sapiens, meaning wise. A daughter known for her beauty might be called pulchra, meaning beautiful. These cognomina provided a glimpse into the individual personalities and achievements of the women who bore them. They added a layer of detail to the otherwise rather uniform system of female names. The use of numbers and cognomina, while helpful for differentiation, still emphasized the importance of family and lineage. They provided a way to distinguish between individuals within the framework of the family unit. A woman's name, even with these additions, remained inextricably linked to her family's identity and social standing. Marriage in ancient Rome was a significant event that had a direct impact on a woman's name. Upon marriage, a Roman woman would typically adopt her husband's family name. This involved taking on her husband's nomen, signifying her transition from her father's household to her husband's. This change in name reflected the patriarchal structure of Roman society, where a woman was considered to be under the legal control of her father and then her husband. For example, if Julia from the Julian family married Marcus Cornelius, she would become known as Cornelia. She would be identified primarily as a member of the Cornelian family, her husband's lineage taking precedence. This change in name signified her new allegiance and her role within her husband's family. However, it's important to note that the woman didn't completely lose her original family identity. She might retain a connection to her birth family by adding her father's cognomen to her new name. This practice, known as agnomen, allowed her to acknowledge her lineage while still signifying her married status. The practice of adopting the husband's name in marriage highlights the societal expectation of women to integrate into their husbands' families and prioritize their roles as wives and mothers. Their names, reflecting this transition, served as a constant reminder of their place within the social structure.